Hello everyone and welcome back to the Vercitorix gaming channel. Today we are adding our first dinosaur to our park, the small herbivorous Dinosaurus. But before we get into that, I want to quickly go over a few things. The support on the channel recently has been incredible, and I want to thank you all for continuing to watch my videos. While they aren't always the highest quality, it makes me very happy to see you all enjoy them so much. Over the last 5 or so days, I've been poorly with a flu virus that has been going around, and unfortunately it meant releasing videos was nigh on impossible. So if my voice sounds a little more hoarse than normal, then that is why. But I do appreciate all the well wishes I have received. It really means a lot to me. Next, as you all know, I was recently made redundant from my job, and as such, YouTube has become my only income source. So seeing the growth of the channel in terms of views and subscribers has really pushed me to wanting to do more for all of you. So in order to keep me doing these daily uploads longer, I've made the decision to build a Patreon, which can be found in the description below. It doesn't currently offer much, but if you feel like you want to support me further, then you can do so through that. Please don't feel like you have to, it is only an option should you want to. I am grateful that you are watching my videos whether you are a Patreon member or not. It means a lot to me. And with that all done and out the way, let's get on with the video. So, the Dinosaurus, a small ornithopod that lived during the late Jurassic period, is going to be our first dinosaur in the park. Why Dinosaurus? Well, when building the park I was keeping modern zoo layouts in mind, and typically lower appeal animals appear near the entrance, with the bigger, more appealing animals being towards the back. This allows for guest flow and pushes for guests to wander through the park or zoo more. So I thought Dinosaurus being a lower appeal dinosaur would be ideal at the front of the park in this particular instance. Here you can see me looking to hide the hatchery. Now I know, people like to see the backstage area and get an insight into what's being done and how. But for me building this park, I wanted to keep these facilities hidden from the general public a little bit more. So with the path leading to the staff area and a bit of forestry put in place, it nicely obscures the view. I want guests to feel the trees all around them, and for it to really give that prehistoric feel of lush, almost impeding vegetation. Now we move on to the habitat itself. And with me being known for Path of Titans realism, it would be pretty obvious that I am looking for very much a realistic feel to any habitat I create. I want different levels within the habitat, allowing for some blind spots. I want a lush array of trees and a natural looking water source. While achieving this, there also needs to be good sight lines for the guests when they look into the habitat, because if the guests can't see the dinosaurs, there is going to be issues. When building a habitat, I always tend to consider water placement and ground levels first and foremost. Doing this allows me to build confidently around the main feature and create those sightlines I mentioned earlier. As we progress through this build, you can see me constantly checking from a ground level how the habitat is looking in regards to the sightlines I mentioned earlier. Where I take these checks from is where I am considering placing down viewing areas. And as you will see, I do put a viewing area in place of where I am looking into the habitat from. Once I place these viewing areas, this is where I began to have issues with pathing and terrain. I'm not a skilled builder on this game and I'm pretty much learning as I'm going, so after correcting some path issues between the two viewing areas, there was a small issue with the corner of the path after placing some toilets. Frustrating. It was too harsh of an incline for me to ignore, and I needed to fix it for my own sanity. It took a few attempts, but we got close enough to something I was happy with. After finishing the path, it was on to adding some life to the area outside of the habitat. I loved the look of this hotel, and it matches with the thatched buildings I've been using. While again it's a bit odd for a Germany biome, I want to keep things in continuity and really make visitors feel like they have been transported into those lush, warm climates that are associated with dinosaurs. Then it was time to set down a anemone, a food shop, which I'm sure I'm going to change later. And again, checking those sightlines, making sure I'm happy with them. It then dawned on me, I'd forgotten a gate. So I find a nice hidden section for the gate to be put into and add a little path. And then I decorated it. Now was the time I had been looking forward to, the release of our first dinosaurs into the park. Welcome, Dinosaurus. Then it was time for some ancillary work, making sure rangers were tasked with keeping an eye on the comfort of these new dinosaurs, and also releasing our second batch into the habitat. I was very pleased with how this habitat was shaping up, even going back to get a visitor point of view from the viewing area before going one step further and getting up close and personal within the habitat. I spent some time checking over things and just enjoying the experience, and then the thought hit me. The Dinosaurus Hotel. Oh yes, this had to be done. Getting more and more excited, I decided I wanted a different type of skin within the habitat, and this green looked rather neon almost. I wanted to see how the skin would look and if it would live up to the expectations this little example was giving me. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite as good as I had hoped, but in all honesty I was having way too much fun at this point to worry about a skin. I was feeling confident and wanted to push further into building the park, especially around the entrance, so I moved back there and began the process of improving the beginning point for all guests. It is at this point I will finish the commentary until the end of the video in a few minutes time, so I will see you back very soon. With that last anonymity being completed, I have returned. I want to thank you all for sticking all the way until this point of the episode. Honestly, building this was incredibly fun, and I can't wait to get stuck back into it again for Monday's episode. But this is where we are going to leave things today, and I have some cinematic shots for you all. Please enjoy, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you Monday for some more Jurassic World Evolution 2.